Hello, hello, this is Rod, Live Within Your Means. And I just wanted to tell you a little story about living within your means, something that I did 32 years ago. I had married, we had a young baby, a little girl, and the truth is we had a little boy on the way. And my wife at the time was just a couple of months pregnant. And well, we had decided that it was important for her to be at home. We both agreed on that because babies need somebody there that cares about them. And you can pay people, but that doesn't mean you can have them care about your children. And my wife at the time was willing to be home with our little girl and with our little boy when we had him. And I had gotten out of college. I'd gone to work for an appraisal firm. Yeah, but they started me out, sorry, right at the bottom. Wasn't making a whole lot of money. And we wanted to be able to get in a position where we would save up for a home and be able to do that. And so we were thinking about how to do that when I was only making $7 an hour starting out for this firm. And this is back 32 years ago. And what's today? Today is my mother's birthday, March 6th of 2022. So this is 32 years ago. And as I thought about this, I thought, well, and I even told my wife at the time, I said, we're young, we have energy, we don't have a home, and we don't have a whole lot of money. But we do have energy, and there's a lot of older people who they have a home and they've got money, but they don't have energy. And I said, what would you think about taking care of an older person? Like if we lived with an older person, you'd have to do a little bit more cleaning and a little bit more cooking. And of course, we'd both help with that. But when I'm at work, obviously, she'd already be working, doing things to take care of our little girl and eventually our little boy. I said, what would you think about, let me see if I can straighten this out just a little, about taking care of an older person? She said, I think that's a good idea, but how would we do that? Well, I said, let me think on that. And there were two newspapers in the state, two big newspapers. One was called the Deseret News in the state where we're at, which is in Utah, and one was called the Tribune. Now, those were competing newspapers, but they were the largest newspapers in our state. And I looked in the classifieds for those, and the classified section was done by a company called Newspaper Agency. They did the classified ads for both the Deseret News and the Tribune, two competing newspapers. But there was no elderly care section in there, or in any of the smaller papers for that matter. And I don't even know if there were elderly care sections in any other papers across the country because I really didn't look. But I thought, boy, they need an elderly care section because that's where we could put this ad so that we could find an older person that would want to be at home that needs help to be able to be there. And I told my wife at that time, and I said, if I can get an ad put in a classified section called elderly care, but I think we could find someone that we could help. But there's not an elderly care section. I said, let me see if I can get the newspaper agency to put one in. Well, I called the newspaper agency. I asked to talk to the person in charge that would be responsible for doing something like that. And that individual, that gentleman, told me, he said, no, I don't want to put an elderly care section in there because I don't think it would ever be used. Well, I told him that I thought it would be, that I thought it'd be a good idea, and that would help us to be able to get what we're looking for. And he chose not to do that. So I actually drove to Salt Lake to the newspaper agency, and a couple of days later, and I went in and met with him. And after I spoke with him, he became convinced enough to try it out. But he said, I will do this. And he goes, but after you guys find someone to take care of, I'm just going to have to take that back out because I don't think it'll continue to be used. Well, what we did is we put the ad in and we got a call pretty quickly. And a family had just put their father in a care center. They were paying around $2,000 a month to have their father in a care center where he did not want to be. He was not happy there. And we met with them, and he lived in a little old bungalow in downtown Salt Lake. That's where he'd been living for many, many years. And we thought we could make that work. There were only two bedrooms on the upper level, and then there was a little basement. We weren't going to put our kids down there, so what we did is we set up a crib for my daughter, and in the well, I think we first put it in our bedroom, and then later we put put a place for my new baby in the. We made the dining area into a place with a crib and a playpen, and let me tell you that they moved him back home. They liked us. We told them that we would charge them $500 a month, and that we figured out somehow that we would charge them $250, $240 a month for food and supplies. So they were going to be paying a lot less than half what they were paying to have their father where he did not want to be. And let me tell you, they moved him back home. We moved in there. About 6 or maybe it was 7 months later, my son was born. But they were so happy that their father was happy because we were able to live in his home. We were able to save up all the money and all the money that I made at my job, plus the bulk of that $500, a lot of the money that we were getting from doing that. And the mother of my babies was able to be home with our babies. We actually moved in with a man, his name was Eric Henry Winkler. Like Henry Winkler, the Fonz from Happy Days, but this older man, his name was Eric Henry Winkler. And I believe he was 88 at the time. We took care of him for a year and a half. And that family loved us for what we did in taking care of him. Eventually, he did pass away. But, he got better care than, with us being there. We were there most of the time. We liked to go into church on Sundays, and so one of his children, different children, would take turns coming in and taking care of him when we were gone to church, or maybe we were going to go out one night, or go on a weekend camping, or to see my wife's family or my family. It worked out pretty good, and we were able to save up all the money that I was at least bringing home and a little bit more. The only thing we really had to pay for was gasoline and repairs on our car and long distance phone calls. And this saved that family a tremendous amount of money. Let me tell you that the newspaper agency that put the elderly care section in, they never took it out. We introduced more people to what we were doing. Other people started doing what we were doing, And, like I said, our boy was born when we lived there, and we lived there until after he passed away. And interestingly enough, after he did pass away, we immediately got a call from another family who had a father living just a couple blocks from there. And that gentleman, his name was Golden Pay, and we ended up taking care of him for a period of time. And anyway, I want y'all to know that there are ways that you can live within the means that you make. You've got to be creative and figure out how to do these things. And sometimes maybe you're not going to be able to do what we did right off. Maybe you will. Maybe that's something that you could do. And what I've encouraged people to look at is what they can do. A lot of people can't afford to rent an apartment. They're very expensive. Homes are extremely expensive. Maybe right now you're getting going and you just need a place to stay. So maybe there's someone that you have a relationship with, maybe your parents, that you could move back into their home or live in their home until you get some money saved up to be able to go out and rent a room with some people that you want to room with. Maybe you are just renting a room, or you can rent a room and get some roommates until you can afford an apartment yourself. Maybe you have been living in an apartment and you've been making more at your job and you're going to rent a home, or you've got money saved up and can qualify and you want to buy a home. Now, these are all different options for different people at different stages in their life. I went through a divorce many years ago, and 30 years ago, and I had to move into the teeniest little home. Eventually, what I did is I continued taking care of the older gentleman that we were taking care of, and that we had been taking care of. And so I took care of him for a while. Eventually, then I moved back to my hometown, and I lived back with my parents for a little while. Then a little home came for rent, a teeny little house, 660 square feet, and it was an old home. 660 square feet is small. That's smaller than some one-bedroom apartments, but it had a little bedroom, and I put a copy machine in the living room to print for the home business, the thing that I was doing. And there was a little lean-to that had been added to the house. And a lady helped me, came in from our church group and helped me wallpaper that. And I just got two little toddler beds because my kids were very small when they were with me. They were with their mom most of that time, and eventually, some of the time they were with me. But my boy was 8 months old when we ended up separating. My daughter was 2 years old, and I didn't want them to be inconvenienced and feel scared by me having stranger roommates when they came to see me. And so I rented this teeny little house. And the good thing is, it was a block and a half from my parents. So I was able to bring them over there to spend time with my mother when I went out to inspect homes because I worked as an appraiser. And yet I was able to work from home, had a printer and, got a laptop, and I worked right there in my bedroom and was able to take care of my kids. I spent a lot of time taking care of my kids and traveling to see seeing my kids because that was really important to me. And but that way I was able to drive. I had to drive 500 miles each way, 1,000 miles every few weeks for quite a number of years to see my kids. But it was important to me for them to have a place to call home, even if it was just a rented teeny weeny apartment and the washer and dryer were in the little bathroom. And but it was a teeny place. Eventually, another apartment came available that was a few blocks away, and it was a little bit more money, but it was bigger and it had 2 bedrooms. So I was able to put the bedrooms or the beds for my kids in there. And then eventually, I bought one of the most humble little duplexes you ever saw, made out of slump block. It had a 1 bedroom apartment and a studio apartment. And well, that studio apartment, the whole thing was quite a dive, quite a hole. But I was able to first put my kids' toddler beds in the laundry area. Then I got a washer and dryer and moved their toddler beds into my bedroom. In fact, I drilled holes in the posts and stacked them and made toddler bunk beds. And then what I did is I added on to the place, and I added an office and a bedroom, and I got people to help me. And one guy was really nice that came and dug kind of a hole for my foundation. We found that I actually bought that place. It was about the cheapest place in the whole town. Even though I was working as an appraiser, I was always honest in my work, and I wasn't too popular with the banks and with loan officers. But I added a room for my office, and I added a bedroom that I eventually put my little girl in because little girls need to have a room, separate from their dad and brother's room. And but I, got a pair of bunk beds, and or I should say a set of bunk beds, and with a larger bunk on the bottom, a smaller one on the top. At first, my little boy, when he was little, he'd sleep with me, and then eventually he slept on that top bunk bed. And then we moved my daughter into her own room, and my boy was so kind and so patient to share a room with Dad over the years. He'd sleep on that top bunk. Eventually, I got a couch that he had his own bed there, and my boy, he's the greatest man that I know, and he's always been caring about other people and ultimately really cares about other people, and always loved me and his sister, loved his mom, and eventually, his mom remarried, had little twin brothers that he really cared about and helped take care of, and a little sister. And but anyway, he was so patient. And my daughter, I raised her actually alone a lot of years, and we were best buds, and we would talk about things and do things together. Anyhow, so even if you go through hard times, there's ways that you can learn to make it. You may be dependent on other people for a while. That's okay. I think it was a blessing that my kids got to spend time with their grandparents. I mean, were there challenges and some things that could be looked at a little bit negatively? Sure. Everybody's got imperfect parents, and most of us have imperfect grandparents too. But that's how I started out and made it. I thought I'd be in that little duplex, by the way, for a year, and I got a little side lot next to it. I thought I was going to build a house there and then move away, live on a few acres. Well, that didn't really happen, not in the years that my children were growing up. So those are some of the ways that I made it. I bought things used. I bought older cars. To this day, I'm still a certified appraiser. I'm a real estate agent, and I'm going to be 59 in a few days. And to this day, I've never owned a vehicle that cost over $8,000. And until a few months ago, I had never owned a vehicle that cost over $5,000. But you know what? I've always had a car to drive. Have I had things break down? Of course, like everybody does. But it's a lot cheaper to buy an older car and get some help in making repairs than it is to buy a new one and be devastated when a car breaks down because maybe a transmission goes out or an engine goes out, and you don't have the money to buy another. You still owe money on the old one, you know. So I've lived within my means over the years. It's allowed me to be honest in my work. And as an appraiser, banks really liked the guys that played the game. And I was pretty unpopular with the banks over the years. I found that working as a real estate agent, um, that people liked me much better, and my appraisal skills came in to help my clients really get the most out of their homes. In 30 years as a real estate agent broker, only once, and there's a lot of appraisals in there coming in low. Only once did one of my clients' appraisals come in low, and I told them beforehand that it was probably going to be coming in low because I could not help the appraiser legitimately get up to the price for which I was able to get it under contract. But that's okay because I can save my clients more, on selling their home than most people pay out for both commissions combined. And I really believe that I've done it, and doing the work and educating the appraisers when they come to appraise my clients' homes. So I'll just let you know that. You can find me under Appraiser Broker, appraiserbroker.com. I've got a little YouTube channel called Appraiser Broker. I'm not going to say I'm real entertaining, but I do know real estate very well. And in fact, I even educate, I interview people around the country. When someone's looking for a real estate agent, want someone that's responsive and honest and protect them, I will interview agents who know what they're doing. Some of them are going to be agents who have also been appraisers for a long time. But yeah, you're welcome to look me up on Appraiser Broker. Give me a call. If you're looking at buying, or especially if you're looking at selling a home, give me a call, and I will help you most likely end up with a few $1,000s more, or maybe many thousands of dollars more in your pocket when you've got your place sold. And with the things that are happening in this country right now, you may want to sell your extra properties. But anyway, I hope this has been helpful to you. This is Rod. Live within your means and have a wonderful day.